Now hath a wonder lit the saddened eyes long misted by a grievous winter clime, and now the dull heart leaps with love's surprise, and sings its joy. For 'tis the happy time, and all the brooding earth is full of chime, and all the hosts of sleepers underground have burst out suddenly in glorious prime, and all the airy spirits now have found their wonted shrines with life and love entwined round. And now I no more sorrow for the dead, the friend I love hath pain of death no more, he hath mortality forever shed, he is of happiness the spirit's core. And my heart's memory brims, yea, runneth o'er, with lavish bounty of his teeming worth, what times he did his garnered wealth outpour, in wisdom's word and deed and pleasure's mirth. Wherefore my soul hath joy in life's great freedom birth. And so, I mount the richest sunset hill, singing the wandering echo of a fame that shall forever have its roaming will in love-awakened hearts, where dwells the name of him whose genius, burning to high flame, was reared within these woods with spark divine. Brookfield, thy beauty slept, until he came to wake thee up to visions that were thine. Hadst thou but dreamed what lay beyond the rule and line, hadst thou but dreamed, ah, dreamers neath the blue of day, the dreamers in the starry night, pillowed on stone and kissed by sun and dew on ye, the ardours of the infinite descend in winged raptures, and the light of heaven stirreth to bliss each mortal pain, wide opening dreaming eyes in spirit sight. Alas! How many waken up again, singing their ecstasy unto the wind and rain. Behold, one cometh in the spirit now. 1 page 402. A wraith of tender, melancholy song, the once familiar friend of bird, and bough, and flower, and brook, and meadow. Not for long he wandered with the meagre, vagrant throng of shepherds piping in the early day. Death mocked his young heart ease, and soon among forgotten things a woeful shepherd lay. And soon the melody grew faint and died away, on yonder hill, close to a great high road, made by the pioneers from sea to sea. The poet lay, unheeded, and the load upon his broken heart sank heavily with cattle's tread, and withered grew the tree that bent o'er him, and dwindled to a path the great highway that was so wide and free. Only a chance-hewn stone of poorest worth clung like a widowed love to his dead, buried earth. We know his fellow shepherds cried to heaven, and thrilled the winds with their melodious loss, and doubtless, some late straying sheep were driven, by the shrewd, wailing music surge, to cross the moonlit stream and crop the golden moss, and even more were changed from sheep to man, and even more cared not for worldly dross, and evermore heard call of spring, and ran into the joyous woods to follow after Pan. And he, our freedom's guide, our spirit's friend, had more than loving word for that lone grave, where homing neighbor never came to lend it presence. His warm heart was moved to save, from utter, last neglect, a name that gave the grace of life in songs now little read, since other ease of heart we most do crave. Dear friend, whose love our weak remembrance fed, thou gav'st our silent bard a home among the dead. To among the mounds of love no more alone, with charity of marble at his head, and, clinging to his feet, that poor, chance stone. Page 403. Now, in the churchyard, rests the long-lost dead. What though his coming was unheralded with pomp and praise, he hath his meed of earth, and on his grave the flowers he loved are spread, and many a kindly eye will read his worth, and sometimes there the heart of love be poured forth. Lo! Now, another comes to swell the praise. 3 He bringeth far off memory of the sea, and of the pathless wood's alluring maze, and of the ringing axe, and crashing tree, and first log hut, and brush fire setting free the age-imprisoned soil to ease the needs that crowned the pioneer's hard destiny. Haply, the warring world no braver breeds, than he who turns a forest into waving meads. Yet still we sing, Saul hath his thousands slain, and David tens of thousands. As of old, we make great holiday of bloodiest gain, and wreathe the shining victor's head with gold, and bless his gory trophies, and unfold them in love's sacred temple, and outpour loud gratitude to God that didst uphold our hands to kill our brother man in war. Ah! Christ is dead, and we the Roman guard adore. But see this happy village festival, for where all the country folk are gathered round, responsive to the clear, vibrating call of one uplifted voice, whose echoes sound above the hilltops now. This toil-won ground is holy. Here the burning bush flamed high 100 years ago, when faith was crowned in the first settler's log hut built nearby, and love, in that rude home, was blessed with children's cry. Not that the venturer grew rich or great, or seemed a hero, or was honored more by those who followed him to conquer fate. Page 404. In the far wilderness, nor that he bore himself as one who paid for others' score, but that among the forest immigrants, he was the first life-bringer to explore these hills, where the shy Indian had his haunts, and prove the settler's worth, beyond the body's wants. And it was well the body's wants were few, to those who made their homes here day by day, toiling and sweating while they hacked and slew the forest, burned the brush, and cleared away for garden patch and grain, and flax and hay. But the wives in rudest suffering strong, little of rest there was for such as they, little save care, even in the baby song they crooned, in midst of work for all the household throng. And yet they were not sad, these pioneers. Tales have been told of humor all their own, and of their wit that crackled unawares, and of their sturdy way, and look, and tone, and high assurance when their work was done. Surely, for them, the thrush at evening sang, the Pleiades and great Orion shone, and the life-giving sun in splendor sprang, and the glad harvest moon her golden lamp did hang. Long years ago, they went to take their rest beneath the spreading trees on yonder hill, the field they cleared for use at God's behest, and where the quiet tenants of his will are undisturbed of any joy or ill. And here and there, white stones with carven name tell who lies covered up, forever still. But the first settler has a shaft of flame reared by the villagers unto his worth and fame. Since then the years have flown like the wind that passeth o'er this hill, laden with life. This is the hill where I was sure to find my friend in days of old. Here, I am rife in freedom, not from the surcease of strife of God with man. Lord, Lord, cease not with me, but from the bloodless fate with hidden knife. Page 405. Shearing the heart, aspiring to be free of lust and greed and self, whate'er the prize may be. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, whence cometh help. My help is in the Lord. Behold, O man, what is it that he wills of thee? But to do justice in accord, and to love mercy better than the sword, and to walk humbly in the sight of him. Thus is the olden vision still outpoured upon the hills, for all whose eyes are dim with seeking in the places where the bale fires swim. Thus am I in the spirit with my friend, here in the village which he glorified, and unto which his heart would always wend, impatient of the world of human tide. When spring began to call him to her side with robin's song and the arbutus trail, and all the lure of freedom undenied, and all the wistful life of hill and dale, and river, lake, and stream, and love that would not fail. And as he roamed the shores and woods and clears, seeking, for aye, the bloom of yesterdays, the mayflowers smiled and lent their sweetest airs, and violets curtsied from the roadside ways. The red-veined slippers of the elves and fays were hanging near the rose and eglantine, and mystic trilliums still did heavenward gaze. The blue flags waved, and lilies 'gan to shine, the golden rods and asters thronged the steep incline, and something of that bloom was shown for me, one eager day, when the rhodora flamed her leafless beauty on us suddenly down in an old-time pasture road, and claimed a first love's privilege, and was not shamed. My friend had fondest greeting for the flower, and gentlest love speech ever poet framed. 5 And all my vagrant heart was stayed, with power of love I never knew, until I shared his dower. Page 406. He was richly dowered of the earth, the grain of sand, the daisy in the sod, awoke his heart, and early he went forth, through field and wood, with young eyes all abroad, and saw the nesting birds, and beckoned nod of little creatures running wild and free, which know not that they know, yet are of God, and kept his youth, and grew in sympathy, and loved his fellows more, and had love's victory to such as heard. He was an answerer of things that lay outside the rule and line, to those who loved, the follower of a star that led him on and on with heavenly sign, and lit his soul, and made his utterance shine. So he went forth to many in his day, and when he passed beyond its sun's decline, some who had never seen him caught the ray, and some came then to praise who could have cheered his way. There is the little cabin in the tree, 6, where sometimes he would go for solitude, and ease of heart, and thoughtful reverie, and rain upon the roof, and dreamy mood, and light the world hath never understood. Me, the door is broken now, and wide, and yet I feel as if it might intrude upon a resting soul to look inside. Such is the quietness and lack of earthly pride, O friend, whoso didst joy of knowledge use, that men look up and brighten at thy name, and speak of genius, and put by the news to tell some good of one death cannot claim, nor life require to read in sculptured fame. The wind upon the hill hath sweetest hush, the day is melting into tenderest flame, and from the valley, where the waters rush, comes up the even song of the lone hermit thrush.